All right, so that was a crazy run. I think nerves got the best of me, and I got to be honest. When I went down, I was like, "Oh man, that's probably it, right?" But luckily, the run was actually so hard. I'm still in it. So top four advance. I'm in there at. I'm actually second here. I waited a little bit, and it looks like another player decided to do the run as well. But this player was not in the tournament, so Nate got the top score here, and I got second. And then Sleepy Bear and Dells also advance. Let's just take a quick look at everybody. It looks like, I mean, it's good to know even the spectator had troubles here too. Um, I will say it was definitely winnable. I just got greedy with the trial, mixed with some, I would say bad draws, but I shouldn't have took the trial. If you lose to bad draws, that means you shouldn't have took the chance. Anyway, though, let's take a look at what Nate did. He went with the draft, so that was, I believe, a molded or a draft was option. He went with the draft. He had a fledgling imp on endless. That could be pretty good considering he had Imperialist just to have an imp every turn. I had debated that, I think, with one of my imps. I think I was going to do, I think I had a, we'll look at mine real quick after this, but Impish Scholar, I think we started with that, I can't remember. Lady of the Reform, pretty good tank. Paraffin Enforcer, I had mine pretty tanked up. I think he was saying he kind of used this more for chump block. Fortified Double Stack. I mean, this was a brutal run if you look at this. Like, we just weren't given a whole lot of options. I might go back and play this. It's always, weird to replay a seed that you already know the things of. I'd much rather have beaten it fresh. Let's put it this way. I had Dante. I just had to last one more ring. I should have just not gotten greedy. I was just overconfident that I could get it done. Anyway, though, he had the resin removal. Branding right double stacked. That was pretty good then. That would have given a lot of armor. But Hidden Assault looks like the next ring, even without trial, it looks like was pretty much GG. I think he had the multi-striker boss, which is a brutal boss. Would have had his stealth guys behind him too, like, because I don't see any AoE, right? Other than branding right-ish. You could take one of them out, but that's about it. And then we'll go to mine. We must have started with Scholar. So I took the Molting Imp. I was debating putting that on holdover. In hindsight, it would have been good how the run went, like, because then I could have took out those backliners and maybe survived. I had a pretty beefy Paraffin Enforcer. My thought was to get my Queen dead and behind, but that really wasn't working out. The Implings wouldn't really survive, so I couldn't get anything there, but I was hoping at least to get like one. Since I had the burnout, I just wanted her to kind of sacrifice her at the start, but it just was too awkward to do it. I had the Alpha Fiend, which I don't think Nate took. I took him for the boss killing potential. Couldn't really find any good upgrades that I could afford at least, so I really wanted Large Stone or Multi-Strike. That would have really took him over the edge, I think, and been able to do some work. I also couldn't play him because of the way I could have played him the ring I lost, but I didn't because I chose to play other stuff. Maybe that was a mistake. I was just really trying to get the AoE off. But anyway, and I didn't really upgrade. Nate must have hit more magic shops up than me because I obviously only hit the one. I will say I didn't really hit very well on the Merchant of Steels, as you can see. I visited a 2, didn't really end up with any like multi-strike or large stone. That is how it is, though. I should have took the Endless. Endless is a fine upgrade. I just thought I had the Molded. I was like, I feel like if I can just get Molded on holdover, but I should have been more I should have more recognized how weak the deck was at the moment. I thought it was stronger than it was, because I didn't really have a huge problem with the first 2, even 3 rings. I didn't take one bit of pyre damage, and then I got 100 to 0'd here, unfortunately. But that is how it is. I 2-turned without, I was pretty confident in the deck, but I just shouldn't have been confident that I could take that trial on. It is what it is. The Dante's Candles hurt the draws too. That's something to be said. But if I would just not take this trial, I had enough pyre health to survive. It wouldn't have changed my lack of damage and bad draws, but I would have at least survived and probably beaten the boss. And then I'd be looking at a pretty smooth run once I got Dante. I mean, Dante with Ritual of Battle, that's pretty strong. If I could get a quick, a large stone, anything like that. And the other two qualifiers, Sleepy Bear Jake, he found, I believe there was a multi-strike that I found, I just couldn't afford it, right? I was like 5 gold off. So he got the multi-strike, which is obviously very good, but he probably ran into the same problem I had where it's like, we couldn't really make use of the rage because we couldn't like get anything to stick behind him, you know? And did we all go Dante? Nate didn't do Dante, and I kind of agree with him, I think. It was with Dante, you got to figure, is it going to hurt you enough in the early game? I thought it wouldn't, because I don't know. It's tough to say. I think really just I should have not taken the trial. And then the final qualifier here, Dells. Let's see. He's got the draft, the fledgling imp. He's got also the paraffin multi-striker. Legion of Wax, that was another one I could have took. I think I regret not taking Legion. I mean, you could have also got multi-strike on him, apparently, right? I guess it depends the ordering, but Legion of Wax definitely would have saved my hide, at least for killing that last boss. I just don't really like this unit that much, but you know what? I think I should have just bitten the bullet and take it. He also did not go Dante. But, you know, that is what it is. Those are the first qualifiers, and I'm in. I'm happy. I was really sweating. I was like, oh, man, early exit. I put in all this practice to just do this. But, I made it, so on to the next. right, we are done with the semifinals, and I'm in. I'm pretty excited to be in. We are actually, I believe, the first two to get serve kills in this tournament so far. So Carius and me. I gotta say, this run there was several points I was sweating it, but this was this was the type of run I like. I love when you can get superfood to work. It also I love when I can get volatile gauge to work. And let's take a look real quick at what everyone did. Carius got a better score than me, but I'm just glad to get in. I got to say, very impressed with Carius. He had a very strong. He wasn't in my opener, my quarterfinal, but he had a very strong game. Just one trial that he probably, if he just skipped it, he would have had the serve kill, I'm sure. But anyway, he went instead of, so the choices were volatile gauge or firebox at the start, and it looks like he went firebox. I went volatile gauge. My thinking there, both Umbra, both Umbra and Hellhorn have the highest average cost of units. Not only that, but they have some that are like ridiculously costed, and being able to cheat that out with volatile gauge, the chance at that was just too good. You got Demon Fiend. You have Shadow Siege, you have Consumer of Crowns, and even beyond those are the high rolls, right? There's also stuff that's just too costed, like even an Alpha Fiend, a Alloy, Shadow Eater, a lot of two-cost units between them all. So really, I think I just saw Volatile, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. I also saw the Mind Collapses, which are actually the best way, I'd argue, in Volatile Gauge to enable an Ember Drain build should that come about. But we'll get onto all that later. Let's take a look at Carius's build and how it differed from mine. So he went all three into Primordium, and I think the difference is he took that Wretch, so he was kind of inclined to do that. No arguments there. I'll get into the differences of why I didn't do that in a bit here, but let's see, he's a Welder Helper. If he could manage to stack the armor on Superfood, that armor stacks, so that would be nice. He went with the Alloy, which makes sense. I mean, I didn't have, if he doesn't have the Volatile Gauge, maybe the Stave, though, could have still allowed him to get the Demon Fiend, but he probably was just committed to the Alloy at a certain point. He had a Mind Collapse. Looks like he removed one of them. He had some morsels. This is also morsels-ish, but mainly Primordium. 2 Shroud Spikes, so he was really looking to fuel that guy up. I can't blame him. And then some armor. You could stack that on the back, and that'll stack. I prefer Damage Shield, but it looked like since he had the Space Prison, or what? He must have not took the X-Cost armor, the X-Cost Damage Shield card. I can see him not taking Void Bindings because he didn't really have the Ember Drain support, but oh yeah, what is that? What is that card? Let's go to mine real quick. Prismal Dust. Yeah, he didn't take Prismal Dust, but I guess since he didn't have Prismal Dust, the armor totally makes sense, right? Stack that armor, and that's how you're going to survive against Patient. Had an Impressive. Maybe that's to take out the Welder Helper, or just the other imps. That's a pretty good imp artifact too. Had an Inflame that could stack Rage and armor. Had both the rituals down to 1. Makes sense. Umbra Stone for the trample. Pretty strong deck. I wonder, so let's take a look real quick where he kind of edged me out. So I had to 1-turn this. I don't know if I had to, but I did. He 2-turned it, so that's already, it's 100 points, not a huge difference. What else? Another 100 points here because I took damage, it looks like. Significant, like 500 points here because I took, mainly because I think he must have 3-turned it and not took damage. So it looks like just throughout, no big ones, just throughout the run, he just kind of edged me out by he 3-turned that but took some damage and took the trial. That's going to beat my 2-turn no trial here. I was a little scared to do this one. In hindsight, I think I'm fine not doing it because I did not have the deck at that point to take on the double tanks and actually kill them. I was quite relying on like multi-floor demon fiends kind of getting 2 chip shots in, because at that point I didn't have I don't think I had trample. I don't think I had any sort of multi-strike. I don't think I ever had multi-strike. But anyway, I actually had a little bit of a lead on him, or a little bit of an edge just on that ring, and then from there on out, he also looks like he 3-turned fell with no damage. That's a pretty big. That's like over 1,200 points there. And then I had just 100 on him here. So really, he just kind of had me the whole run. Big advantage on fell, and just kind of little advantages here and there. But anyway, my build, I chose to go with the buffet. I generally like to go buffet if I can. I generally just take the wretch if I don't hit on any buffets. But I think it was offered before I knew. You could probably argue that it could have been like the proper play to take it there, but I figured I had 50% chance to get buffet, and if I didn't, I probably didn't care too much if I stacked or not. The way I figured it, I would stack the first 2 or 3 turns, and beyond that, wretch was kind of win more at that point, because you know, I either have my damage or I don't, and the waves are either getting dealt with or not. And by that point, I'm probably beating Seraph anyway. That's kind of how a late game, like goods superfood primordium is like. But the stalwart is obviously the what you want to see, because that allows you to just keep stacking over and over and over. Never found furnace tap, but that's fine. We had the trample to make up for that. You'll notice on a lot of them, I put the trample on my primordium in case I got little demon fiend in there as well. I figured having both of them in there was going to be better than just having the one. Just because I'll get that initial damage, and then the only downside there is like the rage technically ticks down twice as much, but that's not. I would say that's never gonna overshadow the just initial 50 damage that you get. But all in all, I like this run. It was fun. I got the best card in the game, Cave In, of course. If you didn't know, that's the best card in the game, and I'm in, so I'm happy with it. Let's take a look at the other players just to see. Sanguine Penguin, I know he's a very good player. Also went the Firebox start. Looks like we all kind of took this same... oh, I didn't get Resonant Shard, so I must have missed Resonant Shard, but we all took the Abandoned Stave. I wonder where that shard was picked up. I'll have to go back and check. But it looked like he didn't have... There weren't too many good artifacts after that. I think, yeah, I was pretty much passing on everything. Like, so that's probably unfortunate for him. He probably could have used something better than a Jack Strips. Wing Clippings is okay. Scorching is also... Like, Jack Strips and Scorching, by the time he found these, I would imagine he was probably a bit disappointed to see those, but had to take them anyway. He had the Crucible Collector, which is definitely going to be good for killing bosses, right? And the Alloy. Pretty good Alloy. Shadow Eater. Double Wretch. It looks like a pretty good deck. Maybe he didn't have the quick enough scaling, though. Maybe he needed... Yeah, I think maybe focused. If he focused maybe a little bit harder on getting those ritual battles down to 1, I bet that would have helped him a lot. It's hard to say. I haven't checked out his run. But you know, he's a very good player. I'd imagine he was right there. Shadewings is obviously brutal, especially for this. Like, that's probably the last trial he would want to see here. He would have been pretty fine on most of the other ones. And then obviously probably didn't want to see that as well. Even with the extra health here, that's probably a lot of damage coming in. I wonder if he just kind of lost the construct right off the bat because of these. I don't know. It's hard to say. And then we also got Sleepy Bear Jake. Ooh, interesting. And I gotta say, I do like Branded Warrior in Superfood. I don't even remember getting offered it. Probably because I had Volatile Gauge. I didn't even, I just saw the Demon Fiend and was like, yep. So there's probably a Branded Warrior at some point, but he also did not go Volatile Gauge, went the Improved Firebox. I'm kind of surprised that I'm the only one that went Vol Gauge. To me, seeing both, even if the rituals weren't there, I think I would take Vol Gauge here. But there was also the rituals at the start, so I'm surprised everybody didn't go Volatile Gauge. There's just so many. As I said, there's so many high cost units that it's not like very. It's honestly not unlikely that you'll find at least a Demon Fiend. Obviously, Crowns and Shadow Sheeds are rares, so they're not going to be found. But even if you don't find Demon Fiend, there's just a lot of high cost spells too. I mean, you got rituals. There's the chance for One Horn Tome. There's a lot of 3 cost and 4 cost Umbra spells. I think Volatile Gauge in this combo is super strong. But also, Firebox is going to be good too. Technically, Firebox would also enable those units if you kept your banner unit pool clean. So that might have been their thought there. They just didn't want to deal with Volatile Gauge. As I say this, maybe Firebox did make complete sense from that perspective. But I just think the ability to get those ritual battles out and whatnot, I don't know. I really like the extra draw Volatile starting Volatile Gauge, if it makes sense, allows you to build into it, which is just makes it pretty consistent. But anyway, good one. GG to everybody involved. We got the finals coming up next, so hopefully I can pull out a W. I've been second on each one so far, and I'll be playing maybe a little bit more aggressive on this one. But again, I don't know if it's worth it to be super aggressive, because as I've done my practices, 10% here or there isn't usually worth it because the chance to lose is so high. But we'll see. On to the next. All right, here we are. Uh, that was the final. That was the finals, and I got the W narrowly. Just about 1,000 over Carius, so it was close the whole time. He honestly was ahead of me for most of that, but I think I eked it out right at the end in ring 7, I believe. But we'll check it here really quick. So congrats to everybody. Pretty strong showings from everyone. This is very, very competitive. And I've been looking forward to this for a while, and I got to say, it feels pretty good to get the W. It's been a not to get too deep into my own problems, but it's good in my life to get a W for once. Let's put it that way. Anyway, we had a lot of spikes by the end, 324. It was really hard for me not to take Firelight in this one. There's the sweeper units, there's Animus of Will, there's so many good Firelight targets. My thought process was, though, it's also one of the strongest Icarus clan combos, and the opening deck was the 2 Steel Enhancers, the 2 Drip Falls, and I forget what the other thing was. Was it... what was it? Be nice if I could remember what it was. Well, anyway, it was something. But whatever it was, none of it was burnout extension. None of it was like self-sacrifice stuff. None of it really supported Firelight. But Steel Enhancer definitely supports Icarus. So I think the combo of not having any burnout extension and having some stat boosts really allowed me to go Icarus. I knew I could get easy early spikes. If there was an armor trial in the first one, I was willing to just not take it and get the point loss on the first. Luckily, not taking the trial on the first one is the least amount of points you're going to give up. But luckily, we didn't get the armor trial. We got it on the second one, but by that time we had just enough spikes to be able to take it and not actually have any downside. So that was pretty nice. So I was feeling pretty good right from the get-go, I would say, especially when I saw the hammered chest plates after I'd already locked in Icarus. I was like, ooh, I get already an additional 3 health. That's actually going to be pretty relevant in the early game to stacking spikes a little more conveniently. And then I think there was the cave on ring 3 where you could do 5 events. Or 5 duplications. So I was like, well, I'm going to guarantee that I can reform on pretty much any turn. There was actually a few turns throughout where actually wasn't the case still, but I gave myself pretty good chances at it. Let's put it that way. And then Wickless Baron, we got a pretty nice steal to accompany it, Merchant of Steel to accompany it. Right off the get-go, we had a multi-strike. I can't remember if I locked in the plus 10 damage. I think I locked the plus 10 in after a while. But I probably would have preferred like 25 health. But I think I just didn't find it, but I was fine with the damage. Anyway, and then eventually we did something I rarely do, which is go Major Refraction. I felt like there really wasn't any point to Minor, and Major was gonna work. At the point I had taken it, I still didn't have a pip upgrade, but I knew 2 of the floors I could still fit them on. So I would just, finagle it. However, I could use a drip fall to get him to the bottom floor if I really needed to. And he'd come in behind, so that'd be fine. And then I just took a pip upgrade final, so I could guarantee that he's on the floor at any point with him, with a little fade. I had Hallowed Drippings and Purifying Cleanse were like my Melting Remnant common picks, ring 1 and 2. I figured, for the boss rounds, I'd really like to have those burnout extenders to stay in play and try to kill early and not have to lose 10% or 20% on losing out on boss rushes. That was kind of my thought there. Also, Purifying Cleanse to heal. I put holdover on it at the very end. I had the opportunity to maybe do a more aggressive play with like Bramble Lash, but I'd figured I'd just eked out finally a lead over Carius. And I knew all I had to do was finish floor 1, and as long as he didn't get a flying kill, I was pretty much going to guarantee victory. So I took the boring route, but I knew if I had to reform my guy, it was likely I would have to. I ended up getting the adaptive at the beginning, so I didn't need to. But if I didn't, I'd still want to get those slays in early, and then by the time I reform, I can just basically essentially make her be in play forever with this and keep healing her until I find adaptive. I figured that was pretty much going to guarantee I can win without taking any damage. But yeah, other things. I took the Crushing Demise just to finish off tanks here and there. I thought there's probably chances for them to get by. Preserve Thorns just to get a draw off Steroid if I needed it. Had the 10 there. This was okay. I mean, I just basically put it... Every now and then I used it offensively, but mainly just stack it on the Wickless Baron. Remnant Pack was really nice. I figured I could put it... If I found it turn 1, I'd just put it on Icarus probably, but... well, maybe not. She wouldn't... I guess it was fine, because I could find adaptive, and that would be fine. But more importantly, you could just put it on the Wickless, and then you don't have to worry about burnout. If he dies, you just bring him back. And Sap, I was like debating. I was like, do I need it? I'll take it just for a little bit of heal. It actually did heal me a few times, and it was relevant, so I'm glad I took it. Wildwood Tome probably hurt my flying kill chances, but if I hadn't played it, I probably would have had a chance at a flying kill. I don't think I could have anyway, but either way, I think it pretty much guaranteed I just wasn't going to lose her, because she was taking 50 damage a turn. There's probably a world where 15 health restored a turn isn't going to work. And then I had the Bramble-Lash just again to take on some of the early tanks before I got to 190 spikes. I actually didn't... there was kind of the thought that I could take this on... I could put this on Holdover. Maybe I could have done that. I mean, I had so many spikes, that's like... I probably should have just done that. The problem was I was pretty committed to just keeping Fade down at the bottom, and I wasn't going to be able to get through them. The only way this works is if I do lose Fade, and then I reform her one of those turns where Seraph is like not having anybody in front of him. Then I could reform her and just one-shot her, because that would have done, 3,000 damage. But I don't know. Maybe that was better. Maybe that was the better play. I don't know. I know from experience there's just so many ways it can go wrong that I figured why not just lock it in. But anyway, that was the win. And real quick, actually Carius went the Firelight build and had a lot of drafts, which is obviously very good in Firelight. But I think the Shade Wings, that's just... 90 damage taken. That was really where I pulled ahead. If you look throughout the run, he's got slight leads on me throughout most of it. Even on Fell, he really started to pull away, and I was getting a little nervous because I had a pretty awkward Fell. I was lucky to even get the 2-turn, I think, but without getting damaged. But the Shade Wings is where I really, once I saw I kind of pulled away so hard there, I figured just lock in the win, and then I'd have it. But yep, that's it. Glad to get the win, and GG to everybody involved. Let's take a look real quick also at Binkley. He was having a pretty strong performance too. He also went the Firelight, but not the draft route. So he had a sweeper. So there was a sweeper, it looks like. And Paraffin Enforcers. So those are both very good. I mean, all three of these are in my list of top tiers for Firelight. So let's see. He beat it. He just must have taken some damage along the way. Let's see. Trap Shoot, I don't remember. He must have taken a Cavern that I didn't. Had the Crushing Demise on Holdover. Let's see. So there was 15 damage taken here. That would have took off a lot of points. 30 damage there. Yeah, I think maybe just... The one thing I will say is without the drafts, while these are great units, it probably takes to get a 3-turn rush. it's pretty hard not to leak. Even if you had, say, a Paraffin Enforcer and a Shattered Shell, that's still pretty hard to kill, say, Gilded Wings or stuff of that that amount of tankiness. But he had ways to get him back down. Maybe if he could just maybe have gotten like even like a holdover and a drip fall or something, that might have helped a lot. But he had the Crushing Demise as well. Maybe that was just good enough to finish most of those top laners off. And then Nate, I think, was the only one that went Icarus as well. But he was saying he did the five dupe on Steel Enhancer, which honestly I hadn't even considered it, but it sounds pretty nice to me, especially at that point in the game. My guess is he might have just low rolled on not getting them in time, even with the 7 of them, because I mean it's pretty nice if you can keep Little Fade in without having to rely on like burnout, right? With that amount of health, probably would have looked at a lot of early stacks of spikes, but Protectors of the Clipped. I'm guessing he must have just low rolled and not been able to reform. I haven't checked it out yet, but I'll check it out now. Anyway, thanks for watching. Very fun, and until next time, peace.